This month I actually spent a lot of time reading Lisa Jules and Greer Hendricks and Sarah Buchanan's books. So just be prepared for a lot of Hendricks and Jules magic. Hi guys, I'm Hina aka the Crazy Cat Writer, and I'm back with another bookish video. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in the month of March. March was the mystery thriller month at RMFAO, my book club on Goodreads. So I spent a lot of time reading mysteries, thrillers, psychological thrillers, cozy thrillers, and so much more. So let's begin. The first book that I read was The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jules. It was an audiobook narrated by Joanne Fugard, and my rating for this book is 4 out of 5 stars. Lisa Jules is an expert mystery plotter. Her mysteries are intriguing, engaging, and very tricky sometimes. But most of all, I love her books because of the characterization that she creates in the book. Her characters are so richly developed. She kind of reminds me of Liane Moriarty because even her characters are very rich. But Lisa Jules goes a step ahead when it comes to characterization because she weaves the mystery into her characterization in a very flawless manner, and that is why I love reading her stories. Like all her stories, The Night She Disappeared had an excellent flow. The book was written in multiple point of views, there were a lot of characters, and the mystery was amazing. The book featured elements of LGBTQ+, and I really liked how Lisa Jules actually did not make a big deal out of it and kind of just wove it into her narrative and characterization in a way that it was pretty obvious that the main lead was actually a lesbian, and how she explored her sexuality was very maturely done, and it was not overdone in any way or in a cringeworthy manner, because a lot of authors tend to overdo this trope and then kind of make everything about it, but it was not the case in this book. The book was actually about a lonely girl. I'm not gonna go into a lot of details, otherwise I'll end up spoiling the book for you guys, but this book was really well written. The characterization, as I said, was amazing, and the mystery and the twist in the end was good. The only thing that I can tell you is it had a kind of happy ending. So if you like reading intricate mysteries, then this book would be a perfect fit for you. The second book that I read this month was Watching You by Lisa Jules. This book was mainly about the trope of a sexy professor and an obsessed female student. But as you progress in the story starts getting very complex, and in the end, the entire thing actually turns over its head. My rating for this book is 4 out of 5 stars. I would definitely suggest this book to all thriller readers because this book had a lot of twists and turns that will keep you guessing right until the end. And even the last twist, the last line twist in the book, or the last paragraph twist in this book, was really good. So if you are looking for a fast-paced thriller, then I would definitely suggest you Watching You by Lisa Jules. The third book that I read this month was The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Buchanan. Greer Hendricks and Sarah Buchanan are the authors of the very famous The Wife Between Us, and since the time I have read that book, I have been a huge fan of their writing. The author duo is really intelligent, amazing, and they create amazing stories. The Golden Couple is the author duo's latest release, and it did not disappoint. It was a proper psychological thriller, and there were a lot of twists and turns. Some were dark, some were light, but overall I loved the characterization, I loved the suburban setting, and I loved the upper class portrayal of the lead characters, which actually kind of shows you how in spite of having everything, people still cannot be happy. So this book was really good. The pacing of the book kept alternating between fast and slow throughout the book. So there were some parts in the book that were slow, and there were some parts in the book that were very fast paced. I obviously love the fast paced parts, but the slow paced parts were also good, because in those parts the authors actually took the time to develop the characters further and to develop the scenes further and the drama further. So I would definitely recommend this book to all psychological thriller fans. My rating for this book is 4 out of 5 stars, and the narrator of this book was Carissa Wacker and Marin Ireland. The narration was good, and the audiobook production was actually pretty good, and it did not take me a lot of time to get through this book because it was just so engaging. The fourth book that I read in this month was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. Although this book was a cozy mystery, I was not able to get into the book as much as I would have liked to. Because of that, I kind of skimmed over some parts in the audiobook, and I kind of found myself wandering away from the narrative of the story because the story just flowed so slowly. It may work for people who are okay with a slow-paced, slow-burn mystery. This book is definitely not for someone who is more into fast-paced thrillers. My rating of this book is 3 stars because the plot was actually good, and I did enjoy the mystery, the overall mystery, the concept, and the reveal at the end. And the characterization was good, but it just took so much time for the author to develop the characterization that I was kind of forgetting the names of the characters, because there were a lot of characters. This book is a part of a series. There is the second book that has just recently come out in the series, and I actually wanted to read that. That's why I read this book. But now, after having read this book, I am not thinking of reading the next book because I simply do not remember the names of the characters. So go for it if you are okay with slow-paced, cozy thrillers. If not, then you might do okay skipping it. The next book that I read this month was Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism by Montel Amanda. This book was superb, and it actually was about the psychology behind the language that is used by cults in influencing people, in trying to grip the psyche of normal people and turning them into cultish fanatics. So it was a really, being a psychological thriller author, it was a really interesting read for me, because it kind of gave me a lot of insights into how language works a certain way when a person is trying to influence people into following them. And a lot of psychopaths were covered in this book. You can just read the blurb of the book and you will see how amazing this book really is. It has some really good reviews, so if you like investigating or researching into cult, then I would say this book would make for a really great read. My rating for this book is 4 out of 5 stars, and I would highly recommend it to everyone. The next 2 books, that is the 6th and the 7th book that I read this month, were Odd Thomas books. Odd Thomas is a series by Dean Koontz, and Odd Thomas is basically a character on whom the story is based. The entire series is based. The first book is Odd Thomas and the second one is Forever Odd. I loved both the books. Basically, the protagonist, Odd Thomas, has this supernatural ability to be able to talk to dead people, and therefore can aid in solving a lot of crime and mysteries. And also he has this intuition that is very strong, which is related to certain crimes, so which really helps him in helping the local police in solving the murders. So these 2 books were amazing. I love them. I'm not gonna discuss them a lot because it was more about the character than the plot when it comes to these 2 books by Dean Koontz, which is always the case with Dean Koontz books. My rating for both these books is 4 out of 5 stars. The 8th book that I read this month was A Dog of Many Names. Now this book is written by Douglas Green. I received this book from the author's publicist, and I generally have stopped accepting books for review because this book was about a dog. I really wanted to read it, and also the author is actually a director who's directed a movie called The Hidden Place. So I was really intrigued about the book, and it was about a dog who was abandoned by her owners. So being an animal activist and an animal lover, I just couldn't help read this book. This book was very emotional, very emotional, but it is a book that has to be read because it showcases the reality of what is actually going on with the animals these days and how on so many levels it is wrong. So I think it was an eye-opener of a book. Maybe a lot of people don't know what exactly is the scene when it comes to dogs and cats who are left behind by their owners, so by the parents or the owners. So I really think that this book should be read by everyone. My rating for this book is 5 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend every one of you to go and check this book out. The next book, that is the 9th book that I read this month, was An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Buchanan, narrated by Julia Whelan and Barry Craddock. Now this book started off good and it was going great until the last 40% of the book. The problem with An Anonymous Girl was the last 20 to 40% of the book. In the last 20 to 40% of the book, authors kind of inserted pretty unnecessarily some tropes and misleads that were actually not needed, but they, I think, just wanted to increase the dramatic tension and the overall drama, or maybe to add the psychological aspects to the story. So they were kind of going round and round about the same thing again and again, even though it was kind of apparent what was actually going on and how the book was actually going to end. My second problem with the book was there was no main twist at the end of the book which could have taken this book to an entirely different level. So those are my 2 complaints, and because of that I've rated this book 2 out of 5 stars. The next book, that is the 10th book that I read this month, was The Getaway by the author duos Greer Hendricks and Sarah Buchanan. This was actually a short audiobook. It was only about 2.5 hours and it was pretty good. I'm not going to discuss the story because it would spoil the story, because the story is actually pretty short. There's a girl who wants to take a break and goes to a yoga retreat, and then she ends up in trouble. So that's what the plot of the story is, but it was done quite nicely, so I really like the book. My rating for this one is 4 out of 5 stars, and I would highly suggest it, mostly because it is such a short read. So these were the books that I read. The next month is the young adult and graphic novel month at RMFO, so most probably I'll be reading a couple of young adult books that I have on my shelf. The first of them is going to be Scythe, and the second one might be Victoria Aveyard's The Red Queen, because I haven't yet read that book. So I also have The Renegades, which fits the category, so maybe I'll read that. There are a lot of other books that I am planning to read in the next month. One is Madeline Miller's Song of Achilles, and the second one is Gwendy's Button Box. I've started reading this book. They are short stories. It's a series of short stories by Stephen King, but I somehow wasn't able to finish it this month because I was just listening to so many audiobooks. So I will be reading this series next month. So I will be back with another book vlog for next month. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Do not forget to like and share this video, and if you like my content, then do not forget to subscribe to my channel. You can press the bell icon so that you will be notified each and every time I post my videos. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.